Level 1, Lesson 5, Emotional Intelligence. Let's start by refreshing our Level 1 goals and course goals. Now that you've set your goals, understand how to focus your conscious awareness on who you need to be, and harness that power via the subconscious, we are going even deeper into the taproot of the subconscious by integrating emotions and feelings. So 1, we set our course goals. We define the things you want. 2, focus your conscious awareness. Focus on the things you want or desire. 3, access the subconscious. Program the things you want and begin with simple commands. Now we're going to move on to steps 4, 5, and 6, which are introduce emotions, control your emotions, and integrate those into your commands. We will cover that in this section. And then we are going to open your imagination, because you must have the right emotions to fuel the imagination to act as a coefficient to those commands, which I called the quantum operator. And we'll cover this in Level 1, Lesson 6, and finally create feedback loops, which subconsciously access and update the subconscious commands. And this will be covered in Level 1, Lesson 6. Emotional intelligence. Emotions are like a multiplier exponent or coefficient in math. They are like overdrive in a vehicle. They are like warp drive on Star Trek. They are like a quantum leap in the spiritual realm. I venture to say that most people are not emotionally intelligent. That is, they are not acutely aware of their feelings and can get easily thrown off balance by their emotions to the effect that their emotions control them and not the other way around. To be a badass manifester, you must gain emotional intelligence, also known as emotional mastery. There's a definite and proven connection between emotional intelligence and success. And there are 4 core skills when it comes to emotional mastery. 1, the ability to understand your own emotions. 2, the ability to control your own emotions. 3, the ability to gauge, to understand how others are feeling. And 4, the ability to be open to how others feel, which is controlling how you feel about how others feel. It's all captured in what Neville Goddard wrote and why he titled his famous book, Feeling is the Secret. Because, quite literally, feeling is the secret. Our emotions are energy. Life, success, and the law of attraction is all about energy in, energy out. What if I told you that emotions equal energy? Okay, now here's where thoughts and emotions intersect. You can think about the house you want, or the relationship you want, or the dream job you want all you like. However, if you are feeling sad or worried or anxious while thinking about those goals, you will only get more sadness, worry, and anxiety. More of that feeling. This is where so many people go wrong while visualizing. They expect their visualization to produce the feeling state they are looking for, instead of getting into the feeling state they desire before starting the visualization process. Think of it like an actor getting into his or her role before the director exclaims, "Action!" Also think of it like the be, do, have model in terms of if-then conditional statements. As we will also learn, want equals won't. That is to say, when you are visualizing, you should live in the end, as Neville Goddard also famously said. And we will get to that in the creative visualization section in this lesson. Let's start by learning about emotions and where they come from. Emotions are formed and stored according to how we relate to our experiences. Our brains encode those experiences as feeling states via the senses that experience them. If our brains were a file cabinet, the labels on the files would not be dates, they would be the names of emotions. Ever heard a song that brought back a memory? Ever smelled something cooking that triggered a memory? Ever felt something that reminded you of something you experienced in the past? Well, recall just how quickly and intensely a memory can come flooding back, as if you were there for that instance. How can the mind pack all of that intensity into a nanosecond? It's like a flash. Well, this is how our brains encode events, through emotions. And emotions are one of the languages that our brain speaks, especially our subconscious mind. So, mastering emotional intelligence is the key to creating the life of your dreams, the life that you imagine into reality. The key to mastering emotional intelligence begins in realizing that emotions are non-valanced, which simply means that emotions aren't necessarily good or bad in and of themselves. They just are, and they serve our conscious awareness. Fear can come from trauma or worry projected into the unknown, but fear can also save us from being eaten by a lion. While lions are cute and majestic, fear should prevent you from innocently strolling up and just saying hi. Yeah, that would be bad. Emotions have an on-off switch which either associate or dissociate with what we are experiencing in the world around us. We can associate with our experiences through feeling states, or we can dissociate with our experiences by thinking only, no emotion. While emotions are non-valanced, not good or bad, they do have effects in the sense that positive emotions create positive energy, and negative emotions drain positive energy by creating more negative energy. Again, emotions equal energy. Another way of saying this is via the cause-effect model. Emotions are not things that happen to us, they are what we create intentionally. If you are not in control of your emotions, some outer circumstance is most likely in control in the form of what is going on in the world around you to you. You can either be the cause or the effect. Through emotional intelligence and control of your feeling states, you can make yourself the cause and creator of your own internal reality, which will manifest into your outer reality as an effect. You will do this by 1. Realizing what emotions are, 2. Empowering positive emotional states, and 3. Creating more positive states. Back to our lesson. This brings us to another point, brain chemicals. Did you know that smiling releases endorphins, something on the order of 1,200 positive brain chemicals every time we smile? Want to feel better anytime? Try it now. Just smile. Our brains create wonderful drugs like dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. It also produces others like cortisol, the stress neurochemical, and melatonin, the sleep and body shutdown drug. It is good to be aware of the few major player neurochemicals, and we will discuss them in the next lesson. However, just know that you should be aware of the fact that neuroscience is an extremely complex and always evolving science, so we will talk in general, broad-brushed terms about these things. And in truth, no brain chemical should be talked about in isolation, as they all work together as cocktails that are produced in different parts of our body, including the brain, and infused into our bloodstream, and have effects that only trained scientists can adequately describe. But for us, just keep smiling. If you are the type who has a bit more difficulty than others in mastering your emotions, consider the fact that emotions contain gifts. Our autonomic nervous system wants to keep us in a sort of homeostasis, and according to that idea, it takes 4 positive thoughts to overcome 1 negative thought. Crazy math, right? However, with this idea of emotions contain gifts, we can reframe our lower base emotions and channel the energy that is actually hidden beneath them. Below is a chart that will help you do that. For example, when you are in a state of fear, Your brain and subconscious are firing off things to you, and you might interpret these signals as your gut speaking to you, or that naggy voice telling you things you may not want to hear. It is now a gift. So match the emotions in the emotion column with the gifts in the gifts column. Those bits of intuition should lead you to the internal questions column, which will prompt your mind to ask yourself more detailed internal questions such as, what action should be taken based on those feelings and thoughts that you have? And from there, go on to the action required column. I used to have a great fear of arguing with my spouse. I felt lost, misunderstood, and bewildered by the fact that whatever came out of my mouth always seemed to be twisted and misconstrued into some mangled and unrecognizable version of what I had intended. And then I found a mentor. This person taught me relationship psychology, and through this process, I not only learned to master my relationship emotional intelligence, I learned how to interpret what I thought of as my wife's complaints as emotional gifts. It's brilliant. Turns out she's not complaining at all, but rather telling me exactly what she wants. And I learned how to respond using the appropriate emotional language, which, by the way, for guys, is not logic. So as your emotional intelligence grows and you gain emotional mastery over all experiences in your life, you will find more peace and joy and intentionally manifest the things you desire. Move on to the next section where you will learn about the power of your imagination and creating positive feedback loops.